My name is Alyssa Kwan. I'm a registered dietitian by practice. My background includes getting an undergraduate from UC Davis, go Aggies, in clinical nutrition. I then went to my dietetic internship at UCSF and completed a clinical emphasis. And thereafter, I worked for a little bit in clinical dietetics before going back for my master's in nutrition at Columbia University. Um, I love clinical dietetics. I think it's a very special field. I love working with other healthcare professions and also getting the versatility to counsel patients. Outside of that, I do have the RD route, which is an organization and online platform for aspiring registered dietitians to help advance the field of dietetics and to really help them pursue the credentials of an RD. Outside of dietetics, I love dancing, I love yoga, and those are my main modes of exercise. And I am the oldest, fun fact, sister of two younger sisters. So I'm very close with them, and I really deem them as one of, or two of my best friends, actually. I think is the most special about the RD route is that I get to work with students and dietitians looking to advance their career in really any aspect of their profession. And so I get a lot of different consultations based on maybe advancing their career or taking the RD exam for the first time. Maybe they're applying for dietetic internship. So I think it's very versatile. Every student is so different. And I really, really like that aspect of the RD route is that I get to meet them and individualize my interventions and consultations for what they need. And so it's been really fruitful over the past now almost 3.5 years working with these students since I started the RD route in 2020. So it's been absolutely amazing. And I love watching my students actually become dietitians, actually being so successful in the nutrition field. My background is primarily in clinical dietetics. I am a full-time inpatient dietitian at Stanford Healthcare, and there I specialize in cardiac surgery. So those are mainly my patients. And I also work in heart failure as well as the cardiovascular ICU teams. I absolutely love working with other disciplines. Every single day is very different. There's patients that were optimizing their PO intake. There's other patients that are on nutrition support, such as tube feeds and TPN. And I love working with my case managers. I love working with the APPs, the nurses, the doctors. It's a very collaborative approach in my role, and so that's something that I really value. So, registered dietitians essentially are credentialed, and essentially they need to get a graduate degree, they need to complete their undergrad, as well as do a supervised practice called a dietetic internship. And I think what's really amazing about the dietetics field is the ability to be so versatile. So, we do a lot. There's a lot of different things that dietitians can do. They can practice in clinical dietetics. There's sports nutrition that they can also pursue. There's public health and food service management, and dietitians are much needed over there. Other RDs enter academia and they do teaching and lecturing as professors. There's research dietitians. There's just a lot in our field. And I think what is so beautiful is that you can really switch your interests from time to time and or really specialize in one of the areas that I spoke about. And again, it doesn't include all of the dietetics professions. There's so many more options out there. So if you're ever interested, please reach out. I love that question, Chrissy. I think one really one thing that I really don't like when people ask, and it's okay, but when people are like, "Oh, as a dietitian, could you create a meal plan for me?" I think that's doesn't encompass and doesn't speak at all to what a dietitian does. I also don't like it when people are like, oh, you eat pizzas or you eat hamburgers. Yes, dietitians eat those foods. There's no bad food in like this culture. And so I hate to put and categorize foods into like good or bad. That's another one that I don't like to hear. And then I think the other thing is just the fact that people are, um, telling us like, oh, we follow this diet, and they're kind of asking for validation of that diet. Um, and so I think those are probably the top three. I'm sure there's more, but in general, I think those are the biggest kind of pet peeves that I find in my role. One biggest piece of advice for future dietitians is really to pursue the field if you want to. And so I think with the 2024 graduate degree requirements now, a lot of folks are not actually interested in pursuing it. I think it's the most fruitful profession that is in the healthcare field. I think it only is going to grow in terms of numbers of dietitians we're going to need in the field. And I would say don't compare your professional pursuit to anyone else's because no path is linear. There are so many ways to get into the field of dietetics. Some people go back for their master's, some, do the dietetic internship first, others do combined programs. So there's no linear path. And I think because the field is so fruitful, being able to just kind of focus on your own path, your own interest, and to really not try to deviate and or compare with other aspiring dietitians. I think that is something that I find myself challenged with when I was trying to become a dietitian, and I see that a lot in our dietetics culture. And so really kind of focusing on what you're interested in, taking those experiences and gathering those experiences to become specialized in that one day. And just know that you will become a dietitian despite the hurdles and despite the struggles. So I think that's probably my biggest advice for aspiring RDs. So I actually offer a lot in the RD route. What began as just initial consultations for aspiring dietitians has grown a lot. So some of the biggest things that I will work with students and clients on is resume review. We do mock interviews. We also conduct personal statement reviews. And some other things are just like RD exam prep and career consultation. So even if you're an aspiring dietitian and you're interested in advancing your career, or maybe you want to make a pivot, I do a lot of career coaching to meet the client at where they are at. But some of the goals that I've met this year is helping students match into dietetic internships, helping students enroll in MPH, MS programs, or any really grad programs. I've also helped students get into PhD programs as well. And then lastly, I guess like the biggest kind of encompassing one is now branching out into helping dietitians really pivot and or advance their careers in the field of nutrition. So all of those have been really rewarding. And again, I can't emphasize enough how different each student and client really is in that I'm able to help tailor my consultations to help meet your needs. So again, if you're interested in any of those things, or you're just not even sure kind of like how to enter the field of dietetics, feel free to reach out. I am always available by email or even social media. So don't hesitate. It's really difficult, Chrissy, to be able to kind of pinpoint an actual day in the life. But in my day in the life, what I will do is I normally wake up around 6:30. I go into the office and I start my day off with screening my patients on the cardiac services. And so that will really look like, you know, whatever patients need diet education, PO optimization, nutrition support. I'll build that list. Thankfully, we have diet techs now at Stanford, so I'm able to have them see some of the patients. Then I go to rounds around 9 a.m. And from 9 to about anywhere to like 12, I will go see patients, chart on patients, adjust nutrition support, attend the rounds, communicate any nutritional needs for the team, as well as ordering items. And then somewhere in between that morning, I will grab a cup of coffee. That's always my go-to. And then after that, I'll have lunch. And then the rest of the day is like anything that comes up. Again, go seeing my patients, charting some more. That does take up a large amount of time. And then at the end of the day, after all of the interventions and documentation is done, I'll go home. And then usually I will have an RD route consultation. After work, so I will try to attend to that, and then dinner, and then the day repeats. But yeah, every single day is a bit different, but that's maybe a sample day in the life of a clinical dietitian.